Welcome back to CryptosRUs. I am George. We're all George. So tonight, I want to talk about Kadena once again. I believe that Kadena is the next 10X altcoin. Despite the fact it has been super hot and has pumped up quite a lot, I still think this is only the beginning. And I'm going to compare it to Solana, one of my favorite altcoins, and show the comparisons, how it's mimicking what Solana did back in January, February, and March of this year. And that is why I think 10X is very easy for Kadena. All right, so as always, smash the like, subscribe to the channel. Thanks for tuning in. 2 streams almost every day, 11:30 and 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. So make sure you hit that notification bell. And follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and check out all the latest news article guides at CryptosRUs.com. Brand new. Make sure you guys check it out. Welcome, guys. Welcome. Hopefully you're doing well. Bitcoin and overall market cap is still creeping up, and that's what we want to see. Bitcoin was at like 67,000, a little bit higher. It come back down a little bit, the same thing as this morning, but overall, look at the market cap closing in at 3 trillion once again. However, tonight I want to talk about 2 specific coins. Solana, right here at number 6, sitting close to $69 billion. And of course, Kadena, which is right here at number 57. Not too shabby, but only at 3.35 billion. And recently, I covered them in my last video. They were at like 17. In the video before that, it was like 14. And of course, I mean, they've been just shooting up like crazy. Now, if you compare to, I just sorted the top 100 by performance of the last 1 year. No surprise. Actually, it may be a surprise for some of you guys. Axie Infinity is the winner at 45,000% within 1 year. That's crazy. Then you have Luna, which is a favorite project of mine, at 17,000 per year. You have Phantom, another favorite of mine, at close to 15,000 per year. And then you have Solana, another favorite, at 11,000 per year. And then you have Matic at about 11,000 and Kadena at 11,000 too. So these are like the top 5 best performers, at least within the top 100. But here's the difference. In the last 90 days, despite the fact Phantom has done well at 740%, Solana has done well at 455%, Kadena is at 4,000% within the last 90 days. That is the difference. It is starting to catch on fire and over 900% within the last 30 days. And close to 200% within the last week. So you could see, yes, it's literally on fire right now, okay? But what's so good about this coin, right? Why is it so hot? And why do I believe even at 3.37 billion, it could go up 10x to be like 30-something billion? That would still be half of Solana if you think about it, okay? So that is still half the size of Solana, even if it goes up 10x. That's the difference between the two right now. Of course, there's reasons why it's so off, but let's get started. First of all, basics. I've covered Kadena a couple times already, so I'm going to skip over some of the very basics, but I'll rehash it in case you guys haven't watched it before, and also bring up some new things I haven't talked about before. First of all, Kadena is, of course, a layer 1. It's built for the future, for DeFi and NFT and all things that relate to crypto, right? But they are not proof of stake. They're not delegated proof of stake. They're not, any kind of variant of proof of stake. They are actually trying to follow Bitcoin, right? Try to use Satoshi Nakamoto's consensus algorithm and sticking with proof of work. But they have figured out how to scale it. So unlike Bitcoin, where it's, struggling at, about 5 to 10 transactions per second, Kadena can scale much more than that. Okay, so that's kind of the basics, the very basics. Okay, but I'm going to get through some. Now, something that's interesting that you guys didn't know, I'm going to cover some history. If you look at someone like Solana, which actually launched right around mid of 2017, mid of 2019. So they came out of the blue. They weren't a project out of 2017 or even 2018. They got out mid 2019, and it was heavily invested. 20 million raised. Remember, 2019 was not a good year for Bitcoin or crypto, right? This was in smack middle of crypto winter. And it did raise a tremendous amount of $20 million. This is Solana, by the way. But here's the important connection. It was led by Multi-Coin Capital, which arguably was the biggest investor in Solana. Guess what? Multi-Coin Capital is also an investor in Kadena. They raised $2.25 million for Kadena, and so there is a connection there, right? So there is a connection. That's an interesting thing I picked up today. And you just think about it. Just think about it for a second. A lot of the VCs that are, invested in several of these large L1s, right? They tend to want to keep them afloat and kind of bump them up to make their profits, right? So Kadena is also within their portfolio of ones to watch and ones to grow. So that's an interesting connection. So the two does have. All right. Now, what else is there? Well, Kadena is founded by two guys that started the JP Morgan chain. In fact, they split off from JP Morgan because they just wanted to leave, right? But these guys are very smart guys, obviously. They worked in the finance industry. They were also, at least one of them, for SEC in their cryptocurrency steering committee. So it has some regulatory experience. But if you also look through the rest of the team, they have, wide experience from many, many tech companies. But Solana is also not bad either. The co-founder, Anatoly, he has a lot of experience. He came from Qualcomm. He's a senior manager there. He was a Dropbox engineer and co-founder of Solana. So obviously he has a lot of experience too. So both founders, and I don't know about the other founder. I don't know what his qualifications is, but, founders of both are very, very good, right? Very good. A lot of experience. Now, something that really, really makes Solana stand out is how fast it is right now. At 50,000 transactions per second, some claim it could go higher. It's 65,000 transactions per second. This is one of the reasons why so many dApps come aboard Solana, because you don't have to worry about scaling. You don't have to worry about high gas fees, right? That's all solved with Solana, right? One of the biggest advantages of Solana. But guess what? I talked about Kadena and how they're still using proof of work. So they think that's the most secure way to do things, but they figured out how to scale through Chainweb. So now they're running 20 chains simultaneously that could talk to each other, and it could scale up to 400,000 transactions per second. So now you're talking about 50,000 versus basically 500,000. So Kadena right now is 10 times as fast as Solana, right? So if you want speed, Kadena is the way to go. And they could add chains. They could add 10 chains, 5 chains, 100 chains to their existing blockchain. In fact, they actually started out with 10 and they doubled it to 20 like it was nothing, right? And they could double it to 40 if they wanted to. So speed is also on Kadena's side. And this is pretty cool. Oh, I gotta refresh. This is, if you look at their block explorer, it'll actually show you all 10 chains and how they talk to each other. I mean, it's kind of wild, right? So the 20 chains working in conjunction with each other, it's pretty crazy. All right. Now, something that Solana definitely has in its advantage, which is why it's at $70 billion, is the ecosystem. Ecosystem has been, blowing up. Even though it's not as big as Ethereum, Solana's ecosystem is vast. There's a ton of DeFi projects. There's a ton of wallets. There's a ton of, just overall dApps that's riding on top. A lot of support, obviously, right? From a lot of major exchanges, basically listed on every exchange. And of course, a big backing from Alameda Research and FTX, right? Recently, they have also integrated with the likes of Brave. And recently, even Reddit co-founder invested $100 million in social media on Solana, right? So Solana definitely has the ecosystem right now. That is why they are growing and they continue to grow, right? But that's the thing. That's the thing about Kadena. Even though they're relatively small, right? They're relatively new. They're starting to build, and that's what you want, right? That's why it's cheap. That's why it's still 20x times cheaper than Solana. So you could argue that that is actually an advantage. But they are working on many of the same things that Solana didn't have earlier this year. You got to realize earlier this year, Solana didn't have all these things. They didn't have all the fancy DEXs or the NFT marketplaces or the wallet integrations and all that stuff, right? This is why Kadena is stepping up to be the next Solana, because it is growing and it's adding all these things like their DEX and NFT marketplace and all these things, right? Now, something I think really is in favor of Kadena is the token economics. And I'm going to share a little history about Solana's, which is not actually that good. And I'm not trying to spread FUD about it, but I'll get to it in a little bit. Kadena's token economics is following basically the same as Bitcoin. They're rewarding the miners. They have a set supply, right? And the total, basically the total that's going to be mined is going to be overspread over 100+ years, just like Bitcoin. So 70% is going towards the miners. Now they are releasing 20% just on the platform, okay? And that's spread over 10 years. But then if you look at the investors, only 6%, and contributors 3%, and they burned a little bit. So overall, only 9% of the total is going towards investors, insiders, right? That purchase seed round, private round, and stuff like that. But most of it is going to the miners. Most of it is just going to be fair game. Whoever's mining will get it. And it's going to be spread over 100 years, just like Bitcoin. Bitcoin is just the same way, right? But it's going towards a set supply. So that actually looks pretty fair. The team itself, the private investors, are not getting a huge amount. And that's a big advantage. Although there's going to be more coming out, yes, but it's just like Bitcoin, right? Now, if you look at Solana, it's very different. If you look at Solana, this is one of the biggest drawbacks of Solana, one of the biggest reasons why people didn't trust Solana when it was getting hyped up, is because if you look at how much was actually sold to the VCs and private investors, it's quite a lot. And if you look at how much the team actually holds, it's quite a lot. So if you actually calculate how much is circulating out there, it's very little, very little. So you look at the seed round, 16%, founding round, 13%, validator sale, 5%, strategic sale, 2%. You add all that up, that's like 30+%. Okay? Then you have 12.8% for the team, 10% for the foundation, that's 20 something. And then you have about 39% that's the community, but controlled by the foundation. So the foundation itself holds about 60%. So you take about 60% controlled by the foundation and team, and then you take about 30-something% controlled by the VCs. How much is left actually for retail investors? Well, according to this, less than 2%. So that doesn't sound good at all. But that changed because Solana in January of this year had a huge unlock. That means all these guys, 30-something+% could have sold in January. In fact, a lot of them did. But guess why Solana survived? Guess why it is where it is today? Because of one man, Sam Bankman-Fried of FTX and Solana. He was an early investor, and he's like, I'm not going to let this thing die. And every time there was a big unlock and people were selling, he bought it all. And back then, Solana was around $2. Okay, so if you think it's huge now, it was around $2. But he took it upon himself to basically buy everything and cause Solana to come up in a big way, despite the fact a lot of people thought that it was going to be killed by all the unlock. It didn't. But just to show you the two, there's a big difference between how much circulating Solana there is versus Kadena's, right? So I would say Kadena's token economics is much better than Solana, right? But here's the other thing, right? That's past. What about now? So I told you about January. That's when all the unlock happened. Back then, despite that, and you look at this crazy chart for Solana, back then in January and February, guess what was the market cap of Solana? Around where Kadena is right now. About 2 to 3 billion. They didn't really move up until about April, May-ish. But up until then, they were still relatively new. People were still not sure what was going on. There wasn't a whole lot of dApps at all on Solana. Everything was still dominated by Ethereum, right? But despite all that, Solana was still around $2, $3, $4 billion. And guess where Kadena is right now? $3 billion, right? This is why I think 10x for Kadena is definitely possible, because look at what happened to Solana. And Solana didn't really pump until about August, right? That was when it started coming up. But before then, you could see it was pretty much sideways. So what happened? You know, what kind of prompted things? Of course, you had some major listings. Remember how there was controversy with Coinbase? They said they were going to list Solana, and then there was technical difficulties, and they didn't list, right? And then that caused a whole bunch of FUD, and people were like, what's going on and stuff, right? That was about the May, June timeframe, and that was when Solana was still kind of iffy like this until it wasn't, right? So you could argue that a lot of the exchange listings, it was the catalyst kind of drive things forward, and I'm sure Sam of FTX Alameda also pouring in more and more money into the ecosystem that definitely helped it drive up. And once it got the momentum, it really never stopped, right? So after it pumped up over here, it did take a little dip, but Solana just kept going and going and going and going, right? So what about Kadena though? Like, we're in the same zone as Solana around February and March, right? Well, there's a lot of things going on. For example, Kadena is one of the projects that is being reviewed by Coinbase, right? So that could be happening anytime now. Kadena is a US-based project, so any day now they could be listed and it could be driven up just like Solana back in the day, right? So there's that to look forward to. And also all the major US exchanges, they don't have them. Gemini doesn't have them. Kraken doesn't have them. Voyager doesn't have them, right? The only exchanges really is Crypto.com and KuCoin, right? But that's a benefit, because once they start listing, you know that that's going to help Kadena in a big way. Also, there's other things. Like, for example, PACT, which is their smart contracts language, is a more secure way of doing smart contracts. Now, I'm not a blockchain developer, so I can't tell you all the things, but it's multi-sig, and it has many things built in that reduces attacks and faults and mistakes, like Turing incomplete reduces any potential attack vectors. This is very similar to several others. I believe Bitcoin is like this. They have blockchain governance, right, which allows developers to fix potential errors for contracts and multiple parties to update agreements. And there's many things other than that. Formal verification, PACT APIs. If you're a blockchain guy and you read this, you'll probably understand much better. But there are big advantages to PACT over any other language out there. So that's also that's a good thing for Kadena. Also, you know what? They're adding today, they just added this, adds another decentralization layer to release of Chainweb mining client. So before, you had to mine in a pool. Now you can run a client and mine yourself. This is the big news from today. This could have drove things up today. But they're also adding wrapped KDA, and they're going to bring that to Ethereum's ecosystem. But that's not all. They're getting to NFTs, NFT games like UFO is starting to come aboard. And if you look at the roadmap, what's coming in Q4 and Q1, there's some big stuff happening. For example, I just talked about wrapped KDA on Ethereum, right? Lending platform is coming. There's going to be new developer grants, which is very popular right now. Most of these big L1s have like a 100 million, 300 million grant. That's coming. New NFT projects, fiat on-ramp, sustainable mining initiative. They already kind of kicked that off. Ethereum bridge, right? And also, they're working with Celo and Terra, and there's just a lot more going on, right? So there's a lot of developments happening. Again, very early, really reminiscent of Solana earlier this year, before Solana went on a big run, right? And that is what Kadena looks like they're about to do with everything I've just said. So, I mean, overall, this seems like a really early stage project. Ecosystem is still very early, right? And not everything is complete, but they do have a really good team. They got good backers. They have a good community. Obviously, they have the momentum right now, and they're building up all these things. And I'm sure there's going to be exchange listings soon. That is why I think you add all this together, 10x could be possible. In fact, it could be beyond that, because even if they do 10x, their market cap is still half of Solana. So think about that, right? So even if they did a 10x, they would be like, what, 30 billion? And the timing of it is perfect, right? Because we're in the last 2 months of this 4-year cycle when things are about to go crazy, right? When Bitcoin, when Bitcoin is ready to shatter its previous high and just keep going and going and going, and altcoins could get really crazy. So even if they went up 10x, they would be right at sheep, okay? So if you thought 30 billion is too big, well, just think about SHIB is at 30 billion. So it's not unreasonable to be at 30 billion in this space. And as the market gets hotter, you know that a lot of altcoins are going to get a lot of momentum and a lot of money coming in, right? So I like it. I like Kadena. I think it's a great play. It's not a meme coin. It has a lot of utility, and there's only more things coming. So I really do like this project. All right, guys, I've said a lot. Hopefully that helped you guys learn a little bit more about Kadena. Let's do some Q&A. All right. Hellcat. One day you're Bitcoin maxi, another day you're talking about altcoin, another day you go into becoming Bitcoin maxi. Choose, make up your mind, Hellcat. Thank you for all the information. I appreciate it. All right. Chen Yu asked, do you think Ecomi will make a run like this? Ecomi is set to make a run. It has been pretty stagnant. I think once it moves to Mutable X, it will make a big run. And that should be any day now. I mean, they've been talking about that for quite some time, so that should be any day now. What do you think about Sol, Phantasma? They do smart NFTs. Yeah, I have seen them before. You know, actually the CMO wrote me something. I didn't have a chance to look at it, but they seem to be doing well. Look at it. Last 30 days, they're catching up because they're in the NFT metaverse kind of field, right? But I haven't really caught up with what they're doing recently. So, but you know what? It could be a good play. Still relatively small. IOTX. I've never been a big fan of IOTX. I just never got into it. I mean, they're holding okay, but man, look at these wild swings. Just not for me. Nathan, I can only tell you what I research, and I like it. So you do your own research and you decide if you like it or not. It doesn't matter what I say. It doesn't matter what anyone says. You do your own research and you decide for yourself. Do I like Kava? I'm neutral on them. You know, they were hot back in the day, but now they kind of lost. You know, there's so many DeFi projects, so many lending projects. They're kind of just lost in the wind, in the shuffle of things now. Trapstar, if they're not on here, they're probably too small, so I'm not gonna look at them. Stinger, thank you. My army of 1,000 squirrels are at your command. Uh, what's that? What was that? There was some kind of superhero kind of cartoon or something that had a lot of squirrels. I forgot what it was, but you remind me of that. If that pumps, should Neo pump as well? No. No, the two are nowhere alike. Neo N3 just does not seem to be doing that well. And Neo, I don't know what they're doing. But VeChain, obviously their V Exchange opened up their AMM today. So that's pretty good. But VeChain is dominant in the supply chain space. Neo is not. It doesn't mean that Neo can't pump, but they're just very different. They're very different. I like Crypto.com. I think they're going to do very well. In fact, you could buy Kadena on Crypto.com, but they're doing a lot of advertisement, getting their word out. And you can't have a better name than Crypto.com. I mean, it's so easy to remember. Everyone just go type it in. Name recognition alone is worth a lot. I like to buy Kadena through KuCoin. There's a Kadena USDT pair. Through this pair, I could trade back and forth between the two. Yes, that's the whole point. Yes. How high do you think? I think you said Matic or Mania. I don't know which. I think you're saying Matic. I think Matic could do very well. I like Matic. I think they're undervalued right now. I don't know what Fed is, but I do like Matic. There's so much going on in Matic right now, so I'm really quite surprised they haven't gone up more. Gary V said NFT winter is coming. People will put money into ETH and BTC and not your 6-month-old JPEGs. I don't know if that's true, Brad, because I see nothing but videos of him shilling NFTs. So I don't know. But I do know this. If we do have a crypto winter and there's a major correction, I definitely think NFTs will probably go down, right? But then it'll get hot again. It'll be the same thing. It'll go through the same cycles. So... But yeah, Gary Vee is like 100% NFTs. So I don't know. He's a little bit too into NFTs now. But hey, he's Gary Vee. Sandbox long term, as long as people continue to like to play metaverse games or 3D games, right? It'll do well. They have their NFT marketplace. The lands are all sold out, right? And there's a lot of big backers. SoftBank just invested a huge amount into them. I think they're going to do well. Do you think CKB could go on and run this cycle? Yes. If they could draw in a lot of dApps to their new EVM, they could do very well. And also, if Cardano starts pumping up, they could do very well. Because Nervos is really all about their bridge. And they have a Ethereum bridge. Soon it's going to be connected to Cardano and many other chains, right? So Cardano's finally starting to move today because of rumors of SundaeSwap coming out their decks soon. So if Cardano keeps going and does really well, I think they're gonna pull Nervos with them. Have I checked out Siri Network? No, never heard of it, Stinger. Do you know BTC's white paper's most cited man is advisor Kadena? Yeah, I actually saw that on the webpage. I just didn't know if anyone really cared about that. But if you go to About and you research like into the team and stuff, right? Kadena's advisory team consists of experts such as Dr. Stuart Haber, the co-inventor of the blockchain and most cited author in Satoshi Nakamoto's renowned 2008 Bitcoin white paper, right? So it's a pretty big deal, but I don't think a lot of people will really care, so that's why I skipped over it. But I mean, to have the co-founder of blockchain and the most cited author in the white paper being as advisor, I would say that's pretty good. I'd say that's pretty good. Cardano doing things really slow. They're not, yes and no, but they got smart contracts out. That's the main thing. They got, they have scaling. They have to worry Hydra scaling next. They're starting on that already. But right now, what they really need is DEXs and NFT Marketplace to figure out how to use their smart contracts. And once that gets going, I think it'll start really, jump-starting Cardano. Not that they're doing bad. I mean, despite all the FUD around Cardano and how they're a stable coin, they're still sitting at number 5. That's the funny thing. People still forget that Cardano earlier this year was below 10 cents. And now they're at $2 plus, right? So, yeah, 2,000% in the last 1 year. That's not too shabby. Not too shabby. Why is the loop ring pumping? Because there's a lot of rumors about GameStop getting the NFTs and utilizing loop ring. It's still unconfirmed. I think it's just a big pump right now. So... Adrian, if you say so, sure. I don't remember. You could pat yourself on the back. I didn't watch James' critiques of Kadena, but I did read some of the comments, and some people just said that he kind of rushed through it. I don't know what he said, but from my research, everything I'm looking at looks pretty good. I mean, honestly, even from a token economic standpoint, you could argue, well, there's going to be a lot more being released, right? But it's a control release, and there's a block halving as well, and there's a set supply. I mean, they mimicked Bitcoin's architecture or consensus algorithm very, very closely, right? And yes, they're very, very young. They're very young. Their DEX is still a beta, and they don't have an NFT marketplace, and they don't have a lot of things. But that's what makes them attractive, because they're still early. If they had all those things, and they're still sitting where they are, well, then they're less attractive, right? Every time I hear the word trillion or billion comes out of a politician's mouth, or a bill passes, I buy more crypto. That's a good strategy. That probably has worked very well. VeChain Nation, as far as I know, it's Crypto.com. Crypto.com and KuCoin are only two. How high immutable X can go up this bull market? Can NFT rebound on bull market peak or with top of Ethereum or Solana? You know what? I don't know. I mean, they're layer 2, and there's a lot of layer 2s out there, but I guess it just depends on how many dApps they get. Just like all the other layer 2s that have kind of like turned to layer 1s, just depends on how many dApps they get. And can NFT rebound a bull market? Yes. I mean, just look at CryptoPunks and whatever Crypto Rocks. They were dead in 2017, 2018. Right? Dead 2019, 2020 until they weren't in 2021. So even if NFTs go down in the next, correction, I think NFTs not going to go anywhere. It's definitely here to stay. Everyone is doing NFTs. All the major brands and publications and celebrities and everything, they're all going to continue. That's for sure. Do you like Barn Bridge? I don't know too much about Barn Bridge. That's too technical for me. Of course, miners are critical because they're going to get 70% of the tokens. Lana says I should bring the team on. Sure, but I don't do any interviews right now. But if they wanted to, I would bring them on. But I don't really do interviews at this time. All right. That's pretty much it. And the tokens are being released over 100 years, just like Bitcoin. So, all right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. As always, smash the like, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys tomorrow, 11:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. Let's see what happens with Bitcoin and the rest of the market tomorrow. We kind of stalled out around 66, 67, right? Are we going to get that next pump soon? I do think it's coming. But in the meantime, enjoy. Enjoy your altcoin gains. And there's a lot. There's a lot that's forming new highs seemingly like almost every single day these days. So enjoy it. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a good night. Bye-bye.